Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Business of Fitness podcast. In today's episode, I'm giving you 5 ways to destroy your fitness business as fast as possible. Now, this process is called inverted thinking, and it's basically asking a question in reverse. Instead of asking what are the 5 best ways to grow your fitness business, sometimes it can be challenging to come up with because there's so many things you can do. However, if you ask the question, what are the 5 ways to destroy your fitness business? I'm going to list them to you now. Now, the fewer things on this list, it means they are more important. Because if there's 100 things to ruin your business, maybe 95 of them don't change that much. But these 5, as I'm going to walk you through, will ensure that you destroy your business. Now, if this is what you shouldn't do, and these are the 5 things that destroy your business, well, what if you reverse them? And what if you do the opposite of them? That would mean that you're going to be successful. I'm going to walk you through the 5, and I think you'll understand by the end of the episode just how powerful this framework is. So, number 1 way to destroy your fitness business is to sign a lease that economically will never ever make sense for your business. A lease that is so expensive, regardless of how many members you have, regardless of what you charge those members, regardless of what brand, what modality, what type of operator you are, what type of marketer you are, what type of salesperson you are, it's just never, ever going to make sense because the lease was too expensive. Maybe the fit out was 4, 5, 6 times more than you thought because you had to go through council approval and change the use of the building and move this bathroom over here and change the piping. No matter what you do, that business will never make sense due to the fact that you signed a bad lease. Now, if you do the opposite of that and you signed a good lease, a lease that was very, very affordable, maybe a lease that was under market value, maybe a building that was sitting there for a while and you negotiated with the real estate, maybe a lease that you got a huge rent-free period at the start. I have seen fitness businesses with 250 to 300 members not make money because their break-even point is 300 to 330 to 350. In my opinion, that fitness business will never succeed. I also know fitness business owners with 120 members that make more profit than every single person you see on Instagram that you think is doing well due to the massive building on the corner in the middle of the Westfield. So again, if the number 1 way to destroy your fitness business is to sign a terrible lease from day 1, that must mean the most important decision you make in your fitness business is the lease that you sign at the start, making sure that your worst case scenario of the amount of members, your worst case scenario of how much you charge, the worst case scenario of having terrible managers, terrible trainers, it still might work due to the fact that the rent makes sense. Number 2 would be that you would never, ever generate leads or inquiries. You just wouldn't do it. You wouldn't want anyone finding out about your business. You wouldn't want any awareness digitally, locally, just wouldn't really worry about it at all. You just hope that you open, people just walk through the door and sign up. If you compound this and you have the world's worst lease and you don't generate any leads, you are going to go bankrupt. However, if you flip this on its head, you have the world's greatest lease and you generate a ton of leads through social media organic, through paid advertising, locally in your pre-sale, talking to every single person you've ever met, and you generate so much interest that you have a wait list. How much more successful is that fitness business going to be? So the number 1 way to ruin your fitness business is to sign the world's worst lease. The number 2 way is to ensure that you never, ever generate any leads at all. The 3rd way to destroy your fitness business is once you get a lead, you would never contact them. You just wouldn't worry about it. They'd raise their hand, they'd give you their information, and you would just hope that they would take the next step with no human interactions in between those steps. You just wouldn't worry about it. People opt in, and you'd think to yourself, well, if they don't take the next step, they're probably not interested. You just wouldn't contact them. You wouldn't text them. You wouldn't email them. You wouldn't call them. You'd call them bad leads. Month after month after month of those leads being in your database, you'd never ever email them, never text them, never provide value, never have any CTAs. Let's compound this now. You have the world's worst lease. You never generate leads. And when you get lucky, by a miracle, someone ends up in your world, you never contact them. Versus, you have a really great lease that makes economical sense. You generate leads as much as possible every week, 48 weeks a year. Take Christmas off, take Easter off, leads are coming through thick and fast. And the third one would be you would contact the leads as fast as possible. You would contact the leads often. You would contact them through text, through email, through calls. You would never, ever forget about that lead. You would contact them twice a month with emails and texts. One email and text, you might provide value, share a story, share a testimonial. The next text or email, you'd be a call to action to get them to raise their hand again to come in for the upcoming promotion. The fourth way to ruin your business is you would never, ever ask for a sale. So you signed a terrible lease. You're not really generating any leads at all. The ones that you do generate, you don't really contact that fast. And the ones that still end up in your business, you wouldn't have a sales conversation with them because you think sales is a dirty word, a sleazy word. You would never, ever ask them for their card number. You would never, ever try and get them to take the next step. You would give them the membership form to take home, and you would say, bring it back when you're ready. Let's compound this again. You would have the world's worst lease. You would never, ever generate leads. The leads that end up in your business somehow, you would never, ever contact them. And the ones that just end up in your business by luck, by coincidence, you would never, ever ask for the sale. You just hope they come back in. Now, if you reverse this, you would have that sales conversation with every single lead that picks up the phone, that responds to a text message, that responds to an email, that walks through the front door. You wouldn't let anyone go without sharing with them how amazing your service, your product is. You would be asking them questions about what is their goal? What have they tried previously? Why is their goal important to them? What happens if they achieve their goal? What happens if they don't? You would explain your product or service in the simplest way possible for them to understand the value. You would then assume the close. You would ask a question like, does Visa or MasterCard work best for you? They would say, I need to think about it. Completely understandable. Most people would think about it. In this situation, what we do is we still get you in for that first week, that first session. I'll grab your card number. I'll organize the first payment. After the first week, if you don't want to continue for whatever reason whatsoever, we can just refund it. Sound fair enough? And they'll do that. So again, compounding the worst one, let's compound the good side. You would have a really favorable lease where the rent was really cheap. From there, you would generate as much leads as possible. You would not stop running paid ads. Every week, those ads would be on. Every week, you'd ask for referrals. Every week, you post on social media. From there, any single person that shows the slightest bit of interest, you would contact them fast, you would contact them often, you contact them on different platforms, you contact them on different times a day, and you would never forget about them. And the ones that are on the phone, reply to a text, come into the building, you would always ask for the sale and try and get them to commit to whatever program, whatever membership you have at that point in time. The fifth way to destroy your fitness business would be you would price your services so poorly that even if everything else was great, your business would never make money in the end. I say this all the time. It's far too often. It's more often than not that gym owners that I talk to are mispriced. I had an owner recently. They owned a franchise up in far north Queensland in Cairns. They did a huge pre-sale. They opened with like 200 members, which is great, but all of those members were on stage one foundation pricing, which was $29.95 per week. So they had 200 members paying $6,000 a week combined. You minus GST, you minus arrears, you minus pauses, maybe down to $5,000 a week. 200 members, and they're making $5,000 a week. So for that business to be profitable, they might need to make $50 per month. So again, that pricing will ensure that they are never, ever successful. So imagine really terrible lease. You never generate leads. You never contact leads. You never ask for the sale. And you're priced so poorly that you need so many members just to get by. They are the 5 ways to destroy your fitness business. Let's reverse that. You have a lease that is extremely favorable. That if everything else goes wrong, you still have a high chance of making a profit due to the fact that the expenses are where they need to be. From there, you would generate leads 48 weeks a year. Take Easter, take Christmas off, but paid advertising, posting on social media, asking for referrals, warm outreach, like local marketing. You'd be in the cafes, you'd be in the hair salons, you'd be in the real estates. You would try to make sure that every single person that lived within that 5-kilometer radius knew that you existed. From there, out of all those leads, if anyone showed the slightest bit of interest, you'd contact them fast, you'd contact them often, you'd contact them on different platforms, different times a day. And even if they don't sign up straight away, you wouldn't forget about them. You would continue to contact them for a long period of time. Once they progress to the next step, whether it's a phone call or an in-person consult, you'd have a really great sales conversation and you would ask for the sale. You would do an assumptive close. You would do everything within your possible power. Ensure that you do it with integrity. Ensure that you're not being pushy to take the next step and join your amazing program, your amazing service, to help them get the results that they wanted when they raised their hand to begin with. And fifthly, you would charge a really, really, really high price. A price that made sure that they valued your service, a price that meant that you didn't need that many members to be profitable to begin with, a price that gave you so much margin that you could actually provide a better service. So guys, inverted thinking, I think it's a really interesting concept because if you can think about the 5 ways to destroy your business as fast as possible, if you did the opposite, it would mean your business would be successful. Thanks for watching.